Welcome, bienvenidos to our study session for August 22nd. We will get started with roll call. Director Barros.
Here.
Director Decker.
Here.
And I am also here. I know Director Smith will be joining us shortly, and Director Sproul will not be joining us tonight, but we do have three, so we do have quorum, so we can get started. Dr. Snow, do you mind starting our meeting tonight?
Yeah, I'm happy to start. Thank you, Director Zavala Ortega, and welcome everyone who's either tuning in live or is watching the recording. It is one of our regularly scheduled study sessions. And so we have some topics tonight that I want to update the board on. And like any study session, this is an opportunity also for discussion from the board. August is usually kind of a different study session because the board has their full day retreat a couple weeks ago. And we haven't started school yet, so it's just a little different space than usually when we have study sessions during the school year. So I have some slides here. Is the share working? Yeah, okay. So the first topic I have is just some back to school information. I know the board's aware of a lot of projects that are happening in the community, so I want to give a short update on those as we get ready for the school year. And then we'll have Jessica Roberts join us, the Executive Director of Communication, to give an update to the board on some of the new communication structures and the data system that we're putting into place this year. And then finally this evening, I will loop back to the board. We spent a lot of time in our August retreat talking about the strategic plan. And since that time, I've been meeting with staff, and we had our steering advisory committee meeting. And so I wanted to share an update with the board and the timeline that we have towards a potential adoption of our strategic plan. So just a few construction updates. We're opening Ruth Bader Ginsburg Elementary to kinder and first graders in a fully dual language school. We just got the occupancy permit for the part of the building with the kindergartners and the first grade. So that's set and ready to go. Still working on other aspects of the building. So that will be a work in progress over the course of the school year, which works all right with the roll up of grade levels, but we want it done sooner than later. Another favorite project has been redoing the parking lot and entrance and dismissal areas for parent and bus pickup at Ogden Elementary. And I think the last part of this, and it may already be done since this update, is just some striping in the parking lot. So that's great news. It will cause a different flow of dismissal and arrival for Ogden, but I think it'll be a welcomed change. Columbia River High School, I know the board heard from commenters in the past about painting and LED lights and things of that nature. The LED lights, which can take on different colors and forms to light up the stadium in purple and yellow or other colors if needed, are scheduled to be completed by the end of August. So that's exciting. We'll have some events there this fall. McLaughlin Middle School had some track improvements, and those are completed. We also installed some carpet and sound panels into the hallways of McLaughlin. It's pretty loud in there. And so really excited about how those turned out. Of course, it's one thing to test those without a lot of students in there. And once the students get in, it'll be good to see. Hopefully those are working well. Chinook Elementary is one of our last schools to have the security entry put in. And so that is nearly done. We're just waiting on some final window delivery to put into the space. So good news. We have a portable at Fort Vancouver that was being relocated to Fort. Still finalizing some of that. I can't remember if the board was looped in on this or not, but we had a presentation from students at Jason Lee about the women's locker room and the difference between the men's and the women's locker room. They made an amazing proposal. We were able to use some of the bond funds and upgrade the women's locker room to better align with, in the past, there were some upgrades to the men's locker room. And so that was a student-led project. Really awesome to be able to complete that. Excited for the students to see it. And then we're finishing up Harney Elementary monument sign reader board was a construction project as well. So this is nothing like when we were in the full when the district was in the full bond where we were, opening up multiple schools, but still a heavy lift from people over the summer, and just want to acknowledge all the work that went into that and the excitement of having students benefit from these projects. So I'll pause here and see if there are any questions or comments.
I just have one regarding the Harney Monument sign. We've received a number of emails around the name, and I'm just wondering, is that going to be a problem if the community decides to change the name?
Yeah, good question. We have received concerns, and the board asked me to develop a process for potentially reviewing names of schools, and obviously we've done some work with mascots. And so this, when we put this in, we wanted to make sure that there was some flexibility around that. If down the road there's something different that's wanted to be done with that, and I'll have an update for the board on a process. Basically, we'll have two groups looking at some potential name changes that have been a result of concerns that were arose in the community. And so the board asked us to kind of investigate. So the first question is, like, should there be a name change consideration, yes or no? And so that's what the board will have a report working backwards from the January study session, and engaging communities around that. I know you all asked for to make sure we had representation from lots of different community partners and internal partners to do that. So yeah, I wanted to be mindful of that.
Thank you. I just wanted to make sure that we could be responsive, because this is a community concern, and I want to make sure that we don't put something up that they're not, that, down the road, they're gonna be sorry is hanging out there. But thank you.
Yep, thank you. Okay. Any other questions about the projects? Hopefully you get a chance to see them soon as we start the school year, and I know you're wanting to be out and visit some of the sites, so we can prioritize some of these new projects. Okay, the next area is the communication with families. And so through the strategic planning process, when we did community engagement, communication was a common theme. That more of it, opportunities to provide better translation services, kind of making it so it's not just one way communication as well, but an opportunity to give feedback and solicit feedback, really with the goal of increasing in partnership with our families. So that's something that we heard and wanted to try to address. Just to reiterate that this is one of the draft goals that came out of the strategic planning process, and of course not formally adopted yet, but would be up for your consideration in October. And you can see it speaks directly to increasing family and community trust, connection, and partnership, with the purpose of ensuring that each student thrives. Really the partnership with families and communities to help determine and deliver needed access and support for our students. And then there's two specific kind of supporting goals of increasing family and community member connection with our district and schools, and collaboration with families to better understand and support their students. And in this goal, special attention for underserved and marginalized student groups. And so with those goals in mind, we looked at some possibilities, and as the board is aware, but the larger community might not be aware, we are also in the midst of a student data migration process. And so our former student data management system had a life cycle to it, and proactively looking at upgrading that the support system, which is so key for everything from emergency contacts to student learning information to immunizations to all of that in the student information system. So I've asked Executive Director of Communications, Jessica Roberts, to just walk you through some the new tools that we have. We're nervous because with any back end migration, every time we turn something on, we're working through bugs and making sure that things are okay. And then we just can't turn everything on. Like, we have to do that incrementally, because you can imagine if we turned it on like halfway done in mid-July, like parents would be like, what is this? What am I supposed to do with this? So our timelines are very compressed here in the last couple of weeks. So I know, Jessica, I appreciate you being on the call tonight. I know that you have a lot on your plate right now. So I'll turn it over to you and I can navigate through the slides. And directors, please feel free to just interrupt at any point if you have a question.
Sure. So I really just put some slides together to help guide through, like, here's what the platforms do, and here's why we were drawn to them. I'm going to be speaking a little bit more to Parent Square because that's the lane where I live. But Parent View is what really drove a lot of the move to Parent Square as well. So as Jeff was just saying, we're ending like really the life cycle of what we could get out of Skyward. And I know the IT team really carefully considered, what are the different tools that are on the market right now that can replace Skyward, but also give us more robust ways that parents can easily see information. So we now have two things that start with parent, which I think is great because we're also trying to center, like, what do our families need? Obviously, we have to be very careful with our data and keeping up with those things, and we need to push messages out, but we think it's important that messages come in and that parents are able to see what's going on with their children when they're here. So this slide is really just breaking down. We know that we have two names and it may take people a while to quickly remember, wait, which one's Parent Square, which one's Parent View? So we're doing a lot of education this week on here's the difference between the two. So Parent Square is where we're going to stand in a square and we're going to talk to each other, and we're going to have communications back and forth. Parent View, you're going to be viewing more things. You're going to be viewing what your child's schedule is. You're going to be viewing their assignments, what their grades are. Sorry, we have assignments there twice because you're doing lots of assignments, academics first and more. And then we have an, if you want to flip this slide, Jeff, I think you're still driving. So we break down the differences and we're distributing this as well. And we're also sharing with teachers and with principals and secretaries and clerks so that if they're getting calls, they're also able to talk our community through, okay, in Parent Square, this is where we're going to have group conversations, where we're going to share our calendars, events that are coming up, if we're going to share files with you, so that back and forth, again, communication. And then again, on the right is here are all the things that you can view, that you can see the records that we have. And then I'm ready for the next slide. We're also making flyers and we're just letting everybody know, like, we're pushing out an email formally inviting everyone to Parent Square, but they also don't actually need that as long as they're in our system. Like Parent Square and Synergy talk to each other, like they're completely connected. So the address book for Parent Square is powered by Synergy. So it's going to recognize that your email is in the system. So when you go to register, you just put in your contact information that you've registered with the school. It allows you to register your account and it pulls up all of the children in your family that you are associated with and their information, so that also parents are able, well, I'll get into that, but they can also download an app. So they don't have to do this. We can, like with Blackboard, they didn't have to download anything, but there were options. They will still get our messages, but if you register, it just opens up even more opportunities for you and gives you more robust capabilities. But it's like really the parent can choose how much they want access to. Parent View access is an invitation by an activation code. And so those codes are going to expire after 72 hours. So we're waiting until the information of schedules and everything is loaded in, so that when they use the, like, they have a reason to use the code and go in immediately, so that we're not risking it expiring. Obviously, like, we'll be able to support parents if they're not able to get in and like reissue codes, but our hope is we're issuing this week as schedules are available so that there's a reason for them going in. And then I just wanted to show some of the capabilities of Parent Square that I was talking about, like with the app. There's some different capabilities. Like with Blackboard, everything came through to you as an email. So there's multiple different challenges with that. One of which is that everyone tries to email everyone now. And so things can get lost. So things actually show up as a post. So if you, once you're registered and you go into the app, or if you go into your desktop and access your account, it will show up as like, here's a post. And what we're trying to show is probably very hard to see, but we can share these slides with you, is that in this example, after the post was made, the principal says, we're looking forward to a great year. And then a parent has asked a question, and the principal was able to answer that question on the post. So we think it's going to support both staff and parents, because oftentimes what we see is if one person has a question, many people have a question. And so we can participate as a group of parents asking a question. It can be answered once, instead of, when you get an email, you have no idea that 18 other people have asked the same question. And so then 19 emails have to be answered.
I have some questions about that. So like this, you said, for example, is it sounds like a principal posting at Lakeshore. So the only people that can see that post are the people that are like have kids at Lakeshore.
Yeah. Yes.
Correct. Okay. And then is there, I would assume, but it's just worth asking, does the school then have like monitoring capabilities? I'm just thinking, like, on social media, sometimes posts can get out of hand, or somebody starts complaining about something and it kind of becomes not necessarily a great public conversation or something, a specific issue that like a parent has about their child, or just something like I just worry about
Right.
kind of a post type format that maybe it could there might be situations that might be tricky.
Yes, absolutely. So we here at Central will also be able to monitor things. So they will be able to reach out to us immediately. My understanding is that there's also a capability to turn comments off until we're able to reach out directly to the parent. Like typically in that situation, even on social media, like we try to directly reach out, because I feel, it's just how you communicate in everyday life. If you're texting, okay, I'm just going to use maybe a bad analogy, but if I'm texting my husband and we're disagreeing, I'm going to pick up the phone and call, because usually it's just because I'm sending a quick message and I'm not communicating in a way that they're understanding, or they're not feeling heard. And so the same thing will be happening here, and we'll be supporting the principals. But I can look into that more about like what's the capability and who all can see these posts. And then I think what the beauty of the tool is that we here centrally will be able to just support our principals and people in the schools and coaching on like, here's what's best for a post, here's what's best for a direct message, because you don't have to post everything. It doesn't force you to do everything in the same way.
Perfect. Thank you.
Sure. But that is a great question, and I will look into it more, and I'll let you know if I see anything that doesn't align with what I've just shared. I'm ready for the next slide now. So the other capability is that when we post something, people are also able, they may not have anything that they really want to say, but similar to social media, they're able to appreciate the post. And I feel like this is valuable feedback as well. So we'll be able to really, on social media and here as well, I think what we call it is digital listening. So it's really just allowing us to say, okay, like parents are really finding this message valuable. So that's valuable, like feedback to us that this is the kind of information they want to see more of. And I think our goal this year is to really just be setting a baseline of data gathering about where are our parents, what kind of information are they wanting the most of, what are they gravitating towards, and what's really reaching them and resonating with them, so that hopefully we can really start over time, we can start catering to like what they want to know more about. And then I'm ready for the next one. And again, the other thing that like I'm really interested in the data on the back end that Parent Square offers in terms of communications, because we're able to see not only was the message delivered, but how many people opened it, which we're currently able to see with Blackboard, but then that's like about as deep as we can go. So if we go to the next slide, and obviously, you know, we blurred everything out for confidentiality, but it's really interesting because we can see like who is opened. So we can start, there's multiple levels of ways that you can communicate. And sometimes what we hear is like, okay, like here's the people in the community who are reading everything that we have coming. So we can open doors of communication there with like, maybe like they're sharing back in the communities where they live, for example. We don't have any firm plans here, but it's just really good to know like who's taking in this information, or okay, I'm about to have a conversation with a parent about something that I shared in an email. Let me check if they were actually able. Sometimes, you know, something happens in the future that's building onto a message that was sent out. So we don't just have to assume if that parent has seen it or not. We can check and we can see, okay, they weren't able to open that message. So if I'm having this sit down meeting with this parent, maybe I take a step back and I just start level setting with, here's some things that we've been sharing. That's a change of procedure, or that, you know, we're sharing information so that we just have a shared understanding of information that we both know or don't know going into that meeting. Next message. And then what I really value in terms of parent value is that everything gets put into a dashboard. So again, you're not hunting and pecking through an email, but you can go onto one dashboard. There's a calendar for all of your child's school events, and they're color coded. So I know, again, it's maybe a little hard to see. We're trying to pack a lot into one slide, but there's blue circles on the calendar and green circles on the calendar. And that reflects if you had two different children, they would be color coded. So one of your everything with one child will be green and everything will be blue for the other. So also when you're looking at the messaging, you can see, okay, this blue message is related to, you would automatically know which child school sent you that message. So, and then all of your messages are coming in the same place. And if you get it through an email, most of the messages that are not just immediately urgent are also coming through to you as an email at 6 p.m. every day. So you're not getting peppered with emails throughout the day that are just updates about events and nothing that should be taking you away from, you know, your day job or what you're doing in that moment. But you just have a certain time that, you know, everything's coming through that you can scroll through and download that from both children or all of your children, whatever number that may be. And I think that's my last slide, but you can check, Jeff. So I'll pause there. I went through it as fast as possible. I had a lot to share. For any other questions you may have.
So Jessica, I just want to say, this is Kathy. I just want to say you're a genius, as I've felt since you came on board. But the whole standing in a square talking to each other versus viewing information, viewing data, that was like, that so spoke to my need for a visual connect. And I can't imagine that I'll forget that. That's awesome. Thank you.
No, you're welcome.
I mean, everything else was also awesome, but that one in particular, if I still had a child in VPS, I would totally know which one to go to now. So thank you.
You're welcome.
I just want to say thank you for that walkthrough. And I guess my wonder is how I'm hoping it's pretty friendly to our multilingual families. That may not be too much like bombarding of information, but I'm excited to see it. Just the flow of it. I already made my own account and all that, so I'm pretty excited about it.
I hope so as well. I look forward to feedback. We're working through, but one of the draws is that there will be additional ease of you like translating things within this platform. That was a struggle with our previous platforms. So we're very hopeful that that's going to help us build community in that way as well.
Any other questions? We anticipate that there will be people that are really happy about this right away. They get in, everything works perfectly, and then there's going to be some bumps in the road. Some of the features we're trying to gradually release because our staff are getting used to it too. And so the messaging back and forth, we don't want that to just be fully open right at the beginning because our staff's trying to figure it out first. And so Jessica and her team and working with the IT team too have been very intentional about a timeline for this. And then we're, as Jessica said, a little worried about Parent View and Parent Square, and everybody's busy, and I already took care of that, but there's actually 2 opportunities here. So we anticipate that one, using the open houses, principals have been great about thinking about that. And then leveraging once the school year started, how do we continue to encourage people to use the tool to their advantage? So we'll see. Also, just a shout out to our principals, because as we're doing this all on the back end, it's different for them as they get ready for the school year. So normal processes that they had in place, normal messaging, normal data information kinds of things are all kind of topsy-turvy. And so principals, secretaries, all those folks that had these systems for years and years, that honestly, they worked around things to make it as user-friendly for our families. And we're excited that in the end, there'll be better benefit, more efficiency, better translation services, all those things. But just want to acknowledge all the users in the meantime. It's not easy. So we're grateful for them, and we're grateful for our community's patience around that. So I'll move us into the last topic for the evening, if that's okay. Okay, I'll reshare my screen. So I guess for new audience members, I'll just say that we're about 15 months into our strategic planning process. We started a year ago, May, and through that process, we've learned a lot about the community and priorities. And when I say community, I'm including students, staff, families, and broader community members as well. Oops, excuse me. So one of the things that I've been sharing with staff, and I've been had the privilege of welcoming a lot of new staff. So last week was new staff members, our athletic coaches, counselors, and mental health specialists last week. Yesterday was our elementary staff. This morning was our secondary staff. Tomorrow morning early, I have the transportation team. Right. And all the times I get to welcome them, sometimes I get 15 minutes, sometimes I get 60 minutes. I've been trying to center on the core values that the community shared, and asking our individual staff members their core values. Like what's their purpose? What's their who are they, right? What's their identity? What's important to them in terms of their family, and why they do this work, and why they want to be a part of VPS, and why do they want to help others? And then we've been talking about, well, how do you find connection between your core values, what makes you tick, and the core values that our community says is important to our district? And so those have been really, I've found them to be fun conversations and engaging. I'm hoping that staff did as well. And the feedback that I've gotten has been positive about that, just to take some time to pause and reflect on what our community has said, and how I connect to that. And then thinking about the power of all of us as 3,000 plus staff members, bringing our unique perspectives and experiences in service of our students with this platform. So it feels empowering to me, and I'm hopeful that it feels empowering to others as well. As you know, the last time we came together in August, we spent a lot of time looking at this vision of a graduate statement. And then we also spent time talking about the components of a graduate, and then thinking about those across our pre-K-12 continuum. And so since our time together in August, staff have been working on, well, how would we assess these? What would this look like? And most of these we think could find their way into some sort of dashboard. And so thank you, board. I know that you've looked at a lot of samples that I've given about dashboards and how other districts have used those. And we're collecting not just your thoughts, but also our steering committee advisory group's thoughts, our principals' thoughts, try to figure out like, well, how are we going to know if we're doing better with this work than we were before, beyond just graduation and diploma. So that's been going on since our last time. I've also been sharing this slide. I think it's really been not just a 15-month journey, but a multi-year journey, because the board engaged the community around a student equity policy. And that equity policy had 5 main components focused on student learning, culture and climate, curriculum and evidence-based instruction, resources, and equity lens, and professional staff. And we found a lot of similarities between what we discovered in the equity policy and what emerged in the student-centered priorities. And this is from the 6,500 plus data points that we got from the community for the strategic planning process. And so we've anchored some aspirational goals that you gave us feedback on here related to experience, staff, and community. And the goal of sharing this with staff is that we would really love for each individual, as they set their own goals for the year, to find connection to their team, to find connection to their school, and then find connection to the larger district goals and priorities. And if we do that, we create greater coherence and greater impact for our students. So that's something that's just trying to organize the work and help people process it. These are those supporting goals. I'm not going to go through each one individually. You've seen this as a board, but each of these goals are finding their way into a work plan. And so what we are doing is assigning that work plan a lead, and then we're compiling a team that's responsible for that. And then over the course of not just this year, but the next 5 years, mapping out a progress monitoring chart so that we can bring that to your attention and monitor and adjust as we go. So we have 8 supporting goals, and we have 8 work teams related to this starting. These are the other goals. And then finally, in the retreat, you asked about, or I asked and you responded about, should we update our mission statement? We've been focused on listening to the community, and this is our current mission statement. And so since our time together, the steering advisory committee met. We had great attendance. Like, it's pretty awesome that, 15 months in an August midday, we have almost every member of the advisory team show up. Like, that speaks to their commitment to this. And so I'm very grateful for them and Bill Ullman and Janelle Ephraim for facilitating that. And basically they reviewed this and they said, yeah, we think it does need to be updated a little bit. And so Janelle captured some of their input. And then the next step is we're going to take this to all the advisory groups, not just the steering one. So the student, the staff, the community, and the family one, and the equity one. And just capture again, like, what do you think needs to be changed with this, or what needs to be reinforced to reflect all the other work that's going on in the strategic plan. So our hope is to have that to you by the end of September, in preparation for potential adoption with the strategic plan in October, or it could be something that takes a little longer and we adopt the strategic plan, and throughout the fall, we massage this to capture the right words to reflect the work. So that is an update. This is the overall timeline that shows where we were at, where we're headed. And like, we've went through all these things, like pretty incredible. And so now we're in this final plan in the fall, where we're having our advisory committee meetings, final plan development, and consideration of adoption at the October 10th board meeting. So and some highlights over here of what the community data part looked like. So with that, I will stop my report on the strategic plan and see if there are any questions or comments.
All right, I'm just going to make one comment. I have said this before, but I'm going to say it again because I truly am amazed that we went from all of those comments the just all of these statements that didn't necessarily have any like goal attached or way to or measurement assessment possibilities. And then North Point was able to like bring this all together along with the help of all of our various planning committees. But I am awed by how well this came together, and I appreciate North Point's direction on this, but also everyone that was involved, all the community members that came together, whether they were part of a planning committee or if they just gave us their input. It's striking. It really is striking. So that's all I want to say.
Yeah, we're really grateful for all the participants along the way. Any other comments or questions? Okay, so that's all I have, Director Zavala, for the study session this evening. The next time we see everybody will be in September, and we'll have, you know, a couple weeks or a week and a half of school under our belt. So very excited. Lots going to happen between now and then. So thank you all for attending this evening.
Yeah, so I want to wish everyone a happy first day of school. I hope everyone has remembered to check your time because the times have changed. So our meeting is over at 6:06 p.m. Thank you everyone for being here. Have a great day.